Bro, no, please no. Why? I'm sure that statue made all the parents feel fantastic. Good Lord. Hello everybody, welcome back to another episode of Brain Blaze. As always, hello there. I'm your host, Simon Wyman. One of my writers, in this case, Kevin. Thank you, Kevin. Writes me a script, censored health scandals, cover-ups and deceptions by the pharmaceutical industry. Oh boy, and have there been many of these. For an industry that is just making things that, generally let us have, happier and healthy lives. The pharmaceutical industry sure has done some shady ass shit, allegedly, which I'm sure we're absolutely going to get into, so let's dive in. It should come as no surprise that there's big money in drugs. The global pharmaceutical market is worth about $1.5 trillion per year, and that's only the legal drugs. If we add in all the illicit sales, it would get pushed to over $2 trillion. Wow. So 1.5 trillion is legal, 2 trillion, and then half a trillion. Half a trillion is illegal drugs. I don't know whether I'm surprised or not by that, because I kind of thought there'd be more illegal drugs in a way, but that makes no sense because everyone is taking regular drugs all the time. I've taken regular drugs today, non-illicit drugs. Just before we continue with today's episode, let me take a moment to thank our incredible sponsor for making this episode possible. It's Sheath Underwear. Now, let me tell you about Sheath Underwear. They make the most comfortable boxer briefs that you'll ever wear. If you're tired of boxers that feel too loose or briefs that feel too tight, then Sheath is the answer you've been waiting for. I'm wearing Sheath right now. Here we go. Just joking, I didn't. These were just on my chair. I wouldn't show you my used underwear. I keep this piece clean and ready to go. Camera ready. If you try one pair of these, just buy one pair and then you'll go back for more. That's what I did. Now my entire underwear drawer is just full of Sheath underwear. The fabric's incredibly stretchy. It's got moisture wicking technology that keeps you cool and dry all day long. Everything stays in its right place, and that's because it's got this the pocket system where all of your different man parts go in different sections, which keeps them separate, not sweaty, especially perfect in the summer. It's just comfortable. Look, I sit in a chair all day and it just everything stays in the right place. It's very nice. There's no moments. When you cross your legs or something. It's all tucked away in the right places. But wait, there's more. Sheath now offers brand new materials like bamboo and mesh for even more cooling comfort. They're always looking for ways to keep you feeling fresh. And here's a little something extra for you. Use the promo code BLAZE and you'll get 20% off of your order. Just go to sheathunderwear.com, promo code BLAZE for an exclusive discount. And now, back to today's video. Which makes it a wonder that the pharmaceutical companies aren't pushing harder to legalize cocaine. But believe me, Kevin, if they could, they would. And there's plenty of shit that they sell that's some ways illegal. What's it? ADHD medicine is called baby coke for a reason. Unfortunately, having legal access to that much money only encourages these companies to cut corners. Why bother doing your due diligence before releasing a product when you can just shovel any old thing onto the market and then buy your way out of trouble when things go wrong? I was just going to say, because if they do that, they'll get fined the shit out of. But then it's they're kind of worth it, bro. Worth it. Because while that drug killed some people, we sure made a hell of a lot of money before they banned it, and the fine was not that bad.
I'll use my credit card.
And the fines get massive, absolutely mind-bogglingly massive. Government regulations regarding the safety of drugs have increased over the decades, but it's not like this sort of thing doesn't still happen all of the time. When I took medication for anxiety in college, I was prescribed a drug that was almost entirely pulled from the market a year later due to interactions with other medications and severe side effects, including intense withdrawal. That sounds intense, Kevin. I don't know what drug you were on, but wow, that doesn't sound like a good time. This drug had undergone normal testing and had already been on the market for a decade at that point, so the more naive customer would naturally assume that meant it was perfectly safe. That'd be fair, the drug's on the market for 10 years, you'd be yeah, popping it away, no worries, bada bing, bada boom. And then it's you stop taking the drug and you're oh, help, why? All it actually meant was that the number of lawsuits the company was settling had not yet been expensive enough to justify pulling back on the reins. It was only once the lawsuits numbered in the thousands, plus thousands more claimants in a class action lawsuit, that the company decided it was best to be more upfront about the risks and for doctors to be much more selective about prescribing it. It's an all too common theme, and the pharmaceutical industry has a long history of trying to ignore and cover up potential risks of their products until legal pressures finally threaten their bottom line. Children of thalidomide. Oh my god, we're starting here. This one is horrible. Thalidomide's still a drug that people take. isn't it? I thought it was for morning sickness is what they were using it, but it hadn't been tested on it. It was like off-label for morning sickness. And then, well, Kevin's going to tell us about it. So let's just jump in. And it's horrific. I'm sure you're aware of it. I've probably made a video about it before. Jesus Christ.
You're ruining it. Ruining.
It's a phrase you're probably familiar with thanks to Billy Joel's "We Didn't Start the Fire." Very curious where we're going from here, Kevin, to be honest. But seeing as this happened back in the 1950s and 60s, there's a good chance you never actually learned what thalidomide was. Don't people know what thalidomide was? The thalidomide babies and stuff? Like, I'm not that old. The drug was first marketed in the West by German pharmaceutical company Chemie-Gruthenol. The drug was actually created by a different manufacturer before being acquired by this company. The company was originally created as a soap manufacturer to address Germany's dire need for antibiotics following World War II. Why is going... The company started as a soap manufacturer to address Germany's dire need for antibiotics. Kevin, why? I don't understand. Why are you just like stating that as a fact and not expanding on it more? That's a bizarre statement. But why settle for making antimicrobial soap? Okay, well, there we go. Thank you, Kevin. Does antimicrobial soap have antibiotics in it? Surely not. Oh, and there's so much more money to be made in pharmaceuticals. And why settle for any old scientists when they had access to some of the most notorious and well-known scientists around the world? Oh no, is this where are we going to say Nazis? Nazi doctors who invented sarin nerve toxin and performed illegal tests on captives at Auschwitz. Yeah, how about you don't employ those guys? Because it's not going to look good. It's just not. It's not a good look. The PR department's going to be like, guys, that is a nightmare. That is... No. Sure, some of these scientists may have already been convicted of crimes against humanity, but their sentences have been commuted, so it was back to the lab again.
Some even call me mad. In why?
I don't think those guys should have jobs anymore. I think, if you've done human experimentation, like illegal human experimentation, in concentration camps, your career should be over. It shouldn't be like, oh, okay, well, we'll let you off on this one. And even if the sentences were commuted, it's like that doesn't mean your career has to continue. Regulations weren't nearly as strict back then, especially when it came to the effects that a drug might have on an unborn fetus. I thought Kevin was going to say, regulations weren't that strict back then, especially in concentration camps. Thalidomide did undergo some meager amount of testing, and after taking the drug, the wife of an employee at Chemie-Gruthenol gave birth to a baby born without ears a full 10 months before they began marketing it, but that was written off as probably being a coincidence. And I mean, fair enough, one case is not, does not make a relation thing. Where's your brain today, Simon? You're so small brain. Thalidomide was marketed as a new wonder drug for treating anxiety, insomnia, and most importantly, morning sickness. The company claimed that thalidomide was perfectly safe to be taken by pregnant women, despite already having a pretty clear reason to call that assertion into question. No, they didn't. But also, I thought I must have got my story wrong, because I thought doctors were prescribing it off-label for morning sickness, like it was used to treat anxiety or whatever. And I think there's still some things that it is used for today, but it's very explicitly said, not while pregnant. Okay, so you think they still call it thalidomide? What's worse, the drug was available over the counter. Though fortunately not approved for sale in the United States by the FDA back in the 1960s, as many as 20,000 people were given the drug in FDA trials. It's estimated that thalidomide affected roughly 100,000 pregnancies, resulting in 90,000 miscarriages. Of the 10,000 infants that were born, another 40% died shortly after birth. Jesus Christ, that is a number. But those that survived weren't much better off. Babies were born with seal-like flippers instead of limbs, and were born missing eyes, ears, and often with severe heart problems. That's not even the full list of negative effects, but you get the idea. You'd think people would make a correlation pretty quickly. The drug was being marketed to pregnant women, and all of a sudden their children were either dying or being born with deformities. While it seems obvious, Chemie-Gruthenol was able to continue selling thalidomide for 4 years before concerns were finally raised. But once the connection was made, it was time to pay the piper. In 1970, Chemie-Gruthenol set up a $28 million restitution fund, for the German victims of thalidomide, or roughly $215 million today. All they asked for in return was perpetual legal immunity, which they were given. Since they never had to accept any legal responsibility, they also never had to apologize, but 50 years later, Chemie-Gruthenol would finally issue a very public and very disturbing apology. Okay. I don't remember this. This must be... 2012. I don't remember this disturbing apology. We're really sorry. So sorry.
I dared to dream of my own race of atomic supermen with octagonal-shaped bodies that suck blood out of you.
In 2012, the company's CEO, Harold Stock, issued the following public apology. We asked for forgiveness that for nearly 50 years we didn't find a way of reaching out to you from human being to human being. We ask that you regard our long silence as a sign of the shock that your fate caused in us. Bro, corporations don't have shock. They're not like, oh my god, what? There's like committees and PR departments and all of this shit. Like, that's not a reason. We wish that the thalidomide tragedy had never happened. Yeah, you're not the only one. If that sounds like the lamest apology you've ever heard, well, it gets worse. It was while developing this apology that Stock also unveiled the bronze statue that was built in front of the company's headquarters to commemorate the tragedy. No, you fucking didn't. This is not going to go where I think it's going, is it? That would just be wild. The statue featured a thalidomide bait. What are you up to? That's insane! Its head tilted back as it seems to scream in agony while wiggling its stubby flipper-like appendages. Holy shit, company, what are you up to? This would be like, yeah, well, you know, we wanted to commemorate the Holocaust, so what we did is we had some pictures of, what's that guy? The Angel of Death? The doctor who did all those experiments. We decided to show him doing some experiments in bronze statues. Bro, no, please no. Why? I'm sure that statue made all the parents feel fantastic. Good lord. Vioxx. Vioxx was a COX-2 selective non-steroidal anti-inflammatory used for rheumatoid arthritis, migraine acute pain, and menstrual cramps. I got a story about Vioxx. I used to have a Vioxx alarm clock. My dad was a doctor, and he'd get, back in the day where you'd like, anyone who's got a doctor in the family or whatever, their house will just be littered with pens with drug names on it or little alarm clocks and shit. And my alarm clock for my entire period growing up was like a Vioxx. It had Vioxx written on the outside. Yeah, that drug didn't work out well. What exactly COX-2 means really isn't important. All you need to know is that it is a very specific family of drugs. The drug was marketed by Merck & Co., an American pharmaceutical company based out of New Jersey, and it is further proof that nothing good has ever come out of New Jersey. Wasn't Garden State in New Jersey? I love that movie. That came out of New Jersey. That was a great movie. Isn't New Jersey called the Garden State?
I don't know.
Merck began marketing the drug in 1999. Worldwide, it was prescribed to over 80 million people, and this single drug was bringing in $2.5 billion annually. Then in September of 2004, the drug vanished. Merck voluntarily withdrew the drug from the market once concerns began to surface that Vioxx was leading to increased risk of heart attack and stroke. It allegedly caused as many as 140,000 cases of serious heart disease. Normally, when encountered with a minor setback like this... Sorry, it was the sarcasm. It wasn't strong enough there. I now realize it was sarcastic. Normally, when encountered with a minor setback like this, pharmaceutical companies will fight tooth and nail to keep their product on the market. After all, $2.5 billion is a lot of money, so why would Merck give that up rather than fighting back and claiming that these cases of heart disease were caused by something else? I don't know, Merck. Maybe because of, basic humanity? Maybe? I don't know. Look, I know you're a corporation. You don't give a shit. That's fine. Allegedly, in my opinion. They must have just been really nice people who definitely cared about the health and safety of consumers, and so they decided to take a major financial hit for the greater public good. Wait, wasn't there an enormously expensive 9-figure lawsuit around Vioxx? And if you believe that, then you really do need a better understanding of how the world works. The reason Merck voluntarily withdrew I guess it was voluntary, but there was money and shit. There was no one believes that they voluntarily did it. So where does this go? Rather than fighting against the claims that it caused serious heart diseases because they already knew that it did. Oh, shit. Really? They had tested the product and discovered how dangerous it was, so they simply falsified the data and lied to the FDA and other worldwide regulators. No way! I mean, there's levels of sketchiness, right? And that is just that must be proven in court for Kevin to write that there. Otherwise, I'm in a big trouble. This all came out during a lawsuit a few years later. This is a relief. Otherwise, I'd be like, Sam, you got to edit some allegedlys in there. allegedly.
No, I don't think I will.
This all came out during a lawsuit a few years later. Internal documents from the company showed that they were fully aware of the dangers and decided to proceed with the drug anyway. Vioxx's entire existence was based on marketing hype rather than actual science. Marketing hype like my alarm clock, apparently. Which once again begs the question of why is it legal to advertise prescription drugs in the United States? But Merck wasn't the only ones falsifying data. Scott Rubin was a prolific and hugely influential researcher in pain management who worked for Pfizer, and according to Scientific American, he was also the Bernie Madoff of medicine. That is according to Scientific American. It's definitely not our opinion. We're just stating the what Scientific American has said. Their opinions, not ours or Kevin's or anything to do with brain blaze, okay? While Pfizer was developing their own COX-2 inhibitor, Rubin conducted 2 studies to test the efficacy of these pain medications, or at least he claimed he did. Conducting a study and then falsifying the results could be a risky proposition due to the number of people involved. Instead, Rubin just lied and released 21 papers on research studies that he never actually conducted. Although his data would have profound implications for the efficacy of Vioxx, Rubin did not work with Merck, and the company claimed they were unaware that his research had been faked. Which, given how much exposure Merck is opening themselves up to, I mean, I'm kind of like, they probably didn't know. Otherwise, they'd be like, bro, do you understand how risky this is for us? Do you know how expensive this is going to be? I kind of believe them. I wonder what the court said. And honestly, I believe them. Me too. No company's going to be like, yeah, okay, we'll open ourselves up to that liability, sure. That would be insane.
Well, maybe you've got a point.
Don't agree with the enemy?
If a respected scientist had already released a bunch of papers stating the efficacy of COX-2 inhibitors, why would Merck bother to question or double-check his results? Sure, that would be the responsible thing to do, but this is a company that knowingly released a potentially deadly medication, so I doubt that they were concerned with being responsible. With the drug already presumed to be effective, any time and money that they would have spent researching its benefits could instead be spent marketing the out of the drug. Despite voluntarily taking Vioxx off the market, Merck still found themselves on the receiving end of lawsuits. This is to be expected, but it was because of these lawsuits that the internal documents were discovered, showing that they knew and hid information about the risks of Vioxx. In 2008, Merck agreed to pay a nearly $5 billion settlement. The money that we're talking about in these things is just like vast. $5 billion. That sure sounds like a lot of money, but remember that they were selling Vioxx for 5 years and it was pulling in as much as $2.5 billion per year. Even after their advertising budget, production costs, and their $5 billion payout, the company should still have come out at least a couple of $1 billion ahead, despite selling a drug that was dangerous and had little benefit. I know everybody on both sides of a lawsuit always wants to settle, and that's usually the correct thing to do, but the prosecution's evidence included a pile of smoking guns stacked floor to ceiling. If they had actually gone to trial, they may have been able to tack an extra 0 onto the end of that payout. Off-label promotion. Off-label prescription of medications is a common practice. Once the FDA authorizes a drug for use in treating a specific condition, doctors can feel free to prescribe it for anything they like. Essentially, they can prescribe the medication for its side effects rather than its intended effects. Generally, this practice is legal, and off-label prescriptions account for about 20% of all prescriptions written. Really? This is what I thought was going on with the thalidomide thing, but it turns out I was apparently wrong about that. Or maybe, I don't know, let's carry on. There are a lot of medications that are commonly used in this way, but the drug you're likely all aware of being prescribed in this fashion is the birth control pill. Wait, the birth control pill is supposed to do something else and it ended up doing that? Or it's used to treat something else? I don't know. The pill is frequently given to teen girls who have no intention of becoming sexually active as a means to treat irregular or excessive periods, acne, and more severe conditions like endometriosis. I had no idea. There you go. Even though the pill is intended as contraception, it provides those effects as well, and it's perfectly cromulent. Brand new word to me, Kevin, big brain. For doctors to prescribe it thusly. Kevin, were you trying to sound extra smart in that sentence with cromulent and thusly? Consider me impressed.
Stop it. Get some help.
However, it's not okay for companies to advertise drugs for any use other than what the FDA has approved them for. If doctors want to go off-label, that's their decision, but companies can't promote it. Of course, pharmaceutical companies aren't going to let customer deaths deter their efforts to promote a drug. Then they're obviously not going to let something as insignificant as the law stop them. It's such a common practice that of the largest 20 pharmaceutical settlements in the United States, 15 of them contain off-label promotion of medications as one of the crimes. That's already illegal, but is it really so bad? If the drug is effective effective at treating multiple conditions, why should these companies be restricted by what the FDA tells them to do? Is that even a question? I mean, obviously, because they could have unintended consequences when used in different ways with different patients. If a drug is developed for a specific condition and it's not developed for another condition, there could be all sorts of interactions going on or weird ways that it affects that condition. It's not been tested. Maybe off-label prescribing shouldn't be allowed. Like, that seems maybe like a good idea. Maybe this shit should be tested. I can just imagine the CEO of Purdue Pharma yelling, "You're not my real dad," at the head of the FDA while promoting OxyContin for off-label use like a petulant child. Unfortunately, the gigantic show that is OxyContin and the epidemic of heroin use that it allegedly created is a topic for an entire other video. In fact, I'm actually working on a video for that right now for my other channel where it truly belongs, Into the Shadows. And the writer for that, I was like, bro, make sure, anything that's been proven in court, A-okay. Everything else, allegedly the shit out of that, and make sure you state whose opinion it is, because it's definitely not mine. I'm guessing Simon's already made at least one, though I can't remember where. Instead, let's take a look at Pfizer and their promotion of the drugs Bextra, Geodon, Vioxx, and Lyrica. While these were drugs that they found themselves in trouble with the government over, the investigation ironically began when a whistleblower called out Pfizer for promoting a different fifth drug. That drug was approved for controlling seizures, but was being promoted by Pfizer as a treatment for bipolar disorder. But Pfizer wasn't happy. In addition to marketing their drugs for unapproved purposes, Pfizer was allegedly paying kickbacks to doctors for prescribing medications off-label. This is also really common, allegedly, and kickbacks were among the charges in 12 of the 20 largest settlements. And these are settlements, Kevin, so they're not proven in court, so we need to say it's all alleged. Have I not been clear about this in the past? Jesus. I get scared. These are big companies. It is alleged until it's been proven in court.
Allegedly.
Following, if you settle, that's because you're like, I don't want to go to court, have that proven. Following the complaint filed in 2003, the whistleblower was promptly fired. This is also illegal, but it's less illegal than the other stuff they were allegedly doing. It took over 6 years for this case to finally reach its conclusion. It was a big one. On September the 2nd, 2009, Pfizer settled with the US Justice Department. They were forced to pay $1.2 billion in a fine, the largest fine ever imposed by the United States government on anyone for any reason at the time. That record has since been broken twice, included by another pharmaceutical company. Of course it has. In addition to the criminal fine, they had to pay another $1 billion in civil damages, including $51.5 million to the whistleblower, who had found himself unemployed with a 2-year-old son and twins on the way. Holy shit, that's a payday. To celebrate, he and his wife pulled their kids out of school for the day and took them to Chuck E. Cheese's for some pizza and games. It was a major scandal. Okay.
Honey, you've got a big storm coming.
It was a major scandal that blew the door wide open for other pharmaceutical companies to be hit with billion-dollar fines for off-label promotion and kickback schemes, and there have since been numerous such lawsuits. The settlement made worldwide news, and it had an impact not only on Pfizer, but on the entire industry that is still being felt to this day. No, just kidding. News of the settlement broke on September the 2nd, 2009. On September the 3rd, Pfizer's share prices fell by 20 cents. On September the 4th, they went back up by 20 cents. Pfizer also announced that they would be charging that $2.3 billion lawsuit against their earnings, essentially making it a tax write-off. Well, yeah, it's a business expense. If there's... Holy shit, though. If there's anything I've learned from all of this, it's that I'm in the wrong industry. Pharmaceutical companies charge insane amounts for life-saving drugs, knowingly sell unsafe products by hiding negative research and fabricating positive results, hire Nazis to create flipper babies, and nobody gets any comeuppance ever. All they do is rake in hundreds of billions of dollars every year while writing off the lawsuits on their taxes. Holy shit. I'm going to have to check with Kevin about what is it like. I don't know if a criminal fine is like, does that mean that it was like proven and we didn't have to use allegedly? I'm not sure. I'm going to ask Kevin to check, because otherwise I'm probably going to need to edit this episode a little bit, other than that entire section that I cut out, which maybe will be included if it turns out it's fine. God, what a mess. I was recording another episode this morning before this one, and I abandoned it because I was just like, I don't know. It was a good idea. I thought it was a good idea, but then it turns out just being way too serious and political, and I'm like, that's just not my jam. So, hopefully this will work out, otherwise I've wasted the better part of a morning. Thank you for watching. Like, I've taken regular drugs today. Like, non-illicit drugs.